Question number 1. Which of the following is a common example of a password? A. 123456. B. Correct horse battery staple. C. QWERTY. D. Password 123. The answer is A. 123456. Out of the options provided, 123456 is the most common example of a weak password. Here's why. Simple and predictable. This sequence consists of consecutive numbers, making it easy to guess using automated hacking techniques like brute force attacks. Hackers often target these simple patterns because they are widely used. Lack of variety. It only uses numbers and lacks the combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, symbols, and special characters, which are essential for creating strong passwords. Easily guessable. Using only numbers can often be related to personal information like birth dates or PIN codes, further increasing the risk of someone guessing it correctly. The other options are considered relatively less common or more secure. B. Correct horse battery staple. This is a long and random phrase, making it difficult to guess. However, it is getting outdated as hackers become aware of this specific technique. C. QWERTY. This is the first sequence of letters on a standard keyboard layout, making it easily guessable by anyone familiar with keyboards. D. Password 123. While not ideal, this option utilizes both letters and numbers, making it slightly more complex than just numbers. However, it's still considered weak due to its predictability and inclusion of a common word, password. It is highly recommended to avoid using any of these examples as your password. Instead, focus on creating strong passwords that are at least 12 characters long, contain a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, are not based on personal information or easily guessable words, unique for each account you use. Question number 2. What is a passphrase? A. A single word used to authenticate users. B. A sequence of characters used to access a computer system. C. A longer complex sentence or string of words used as a password. D. A randomly generated set of numbers. The correct answer is C. A longer complex sentence or string of words used as a password. A passphrase is essentially a longer and more secure version of a traditional password. While both serve the purpose of granting access to a system or account, passphrases offer several advantages. Increased length. Passphrases are typically at least 15 characters long, compared to the recommended minimum of 8 characters for passwords. This extended length significantly increases the difficulty of cracking them through brute force attacks. Enhanced memorability. Unlike complex passwords containing random characters and symbols, passphrases can be formed from memorable sequences of words or phrases. This makes them easier to remember for users, reducing the need to write them down or reuse them across different accounts. Improved security. The combination of length and memorability makes passphrases a more secure alternative to traditional passwords. They are more resistant to guessing attempts and offer better protection against unauthorized access. Here's an example of a passphrase. My favorite color is purple and I love cats. This passphrase is 28 characters long and incorporates a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, making it significantly more secure than a short and simple password. Question number 3. Which of the following is a recommended practice for creating secure passwords? A. Using the same password for all accounts. B. Including personal information like birth dates. C. Using a mix of uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. D. Keeping passwords written down in an easily accessible location. The correct answer is C. Using a mix of uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. This is the most recommended practice for creating secure passwords. Here's why. Increased complexity. Combining different character types makes your password harder to guess or crack using automated tools. Hackers often employ programs that try various combinations of characters, and including a diverse range makes it more challenging for them to succeed. Enhanced randomness. By incorporating various character types, you avoid patterns or sequences that might be easier to predict. This unpredictability strengthens the overall security of your password. Longer length. While not explicitly mentioned in this option, using a mix of characters often leads to creating longer passwords. As mentioned earlier, longer passwords are generally more secure than shorter ones. The other options are not recommended for creating secure passwords. A. Using the same password for all accounts. This practice puts all your accounts at risk if one gets compromised. Hackers often try stolen login credentials on other platforms, hoping to gain access to multiple accounts using the same information. B. Including personal information like birth dates. Information like birth dates, names, or addresses can be easily guessed or obtained through social media or other sources. Using such information in your password makes it vulnerable to targeted attacks. D. Keeping passwords written down in an easily accessible location. This completely defeats the purpose of having a secure password. If someone gains access to the location where your passwords are stored, they can easily compromise your accounts. Remember, create unique passwords for each account, using a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Aim for a length of at least 12 characters, and consider using even longer passphrases for enhanced security. Never share your passwords with anyone, and avoid writing them down in easily accessible locations. Use a password manager to help you generate, store, and manage your passwords securely. Question number 4. What is password hashing? A. Encrypting passwords using a secret key. B. Storing passwords in plain text format. C. Converting passwords into a fixed-length string of characters. D. Generating passwords using a random algorithm. The correct answer is C. Converting passwords into a fixed-length string of characters. Password hashing is a technique used to securely store passwords by converting them into a fixed-length string of characters. This process involves taking the original password and running it through a cryptographic hash function, which generates a unique hash value. The hash value is then stored in the database instead of the actual password. It's important to note that password hashing is different from encryption. While encryption is a two-way process that can be reversed with the right key, hashing is a one-way process, meaning that it is not possible to reverse the hashed value back to the original password. This adds an extra layer of security because even if the hashed passwords are compromised, attackers cannot easily retrieve the original passwords. Storing passwords in plain text format, option B, is considered extremely insecure because if the database is breached, all passwords would be exposed in their original form. Encrypting passwords using a secret key, option A, is also not the standard practice for storing passwords securely, as encryption can be reversed if the key is compromised. Generating passwords using a random algorithm, option D, is more related to password generation rather than password hashing, which focuses on securely storing existing passwords. Question number 5. What is two-factor authentication, 2FA? A. Using two different passwords for the same account. B. Verifying identity with two or more authentication methods. C. Changing passwords every 2 weeks. D. Allowing multiple users access to the same account. The correct answer is B. Verifying identity with two or more authentication methods. Two-factor authentication, 2FA, is a security process that requires users to provide two different authentication factors to verify their identity before gaining access to an account. These factors typically fall into 3 categories: something you know, for example, a password; something you have, for example, a smartphone or a security token; and something you are, for example, biometric data like a fingerprint or facial recognition. By using two or more authentication methods, 2FA adds an extra layer of security to the login process, making it more difficult for unauthorized users to access an account even if they have obtained the password. This helps protect against various types of attacks, such as phishing, password theft, and credential stuffing. Using two different passwords for the same account, option A, is not the definition of two-factor authentication. Changing passwords every 2 weeks, option C, is a security practice known as password rotation and is not specifically related to 2FA. Allowing multiple users access to the same account, option D, refers to multi-user account access and is not related to the concept of two-factor authentication. Question number 6. Which of the following is not a good password practice? A. Sharing passwords with friends. B. Using a password manager to store passwords securely. C. Changing passwords regularly. D. Avoiding common words or phrases. The correct answer is A. Sharing passwords with friends. Sharing passwords with friends, option A, is not a good password practice as it compromises the security of your accounts. When you share your passwords with others, you lose control over who has access to your accounts, increasing the risk of unauthorized access and potential misuse of your personal information. Using a password manager to store passwords securely, option B, is a good password practice as it helps you generate strong, unique passwords for each account and securely stores them in an encrypted database. This makes it easier to manage and protect your passwords without the need to remember them all. Changing passwords regularly, option C, is also considered a good password practice as it can help mitigate the risk of unauthorized access in case a password is compromised. Regularly updating passwords reduces the likelihood of attackers gaining prolonged access to your accounts. Avoiding common words or phrases, option D, is another good password practice as using complex and unique passwords makes it harder for attackers to guess or crack them. By avoiding common words, phrases, or predictable patterns, you enhance the security of your accounts. Question number 7. What is the purpose of a password policy? A. To make it easier for users to remember passwords. B. To establish guidelines for creating and managing passwords. C. To increase the complexity of passwords. D. To limit the number of login attempts. The correct answer is B. To establish guidelines for creating and managing passwords. The purpose of a password policy is to provide guidelines and rules for creating, managing, and using passwords within an organization or system. A password policy typically includes requirements such as minimum length, complexity, expiration period, and restrictions on password reuse. By establishing a password policy, organizations can enhance the security of their systems and data by ensuring that users follow best practices when creating and managing their passwords. While password policies may include requirements to increase the complexity of passwords, option C, by including a mix of characters, numbers, and symbols, the primary goal is to ensure that passwords are secure and not easily guessed or compromised. Limiting the number of login attempts, option D, is a security measure aimed at preventing brute force attacks, where attackers try multiple combinations of usernames and passwords to gain unauthorized access. While this can be part of a broader security strategy, it is not the primary purpose of a password policy. Making it easier for users to remember passwords, option A, is not typically the main goal of a password policy. Instead, the focus is on promoting secure password practices to protect sensitive information and systems from unauthorized access. Question number 8. What is a brute force attack? A. A method of guessing passwords using personal information. B. Trying all possible password combinations to gain access. C. Social engineering to trick users into revealing passwords. D. Hacking into a system using advanced algorithms. The correct answer is B. Trying all possible password combinations to gain access. A brute force attack is a method used by attackers to gain unauthorized access to a system or an account by systematically trying all possible password combinations until the correct one is found. This type of attack relies on the sheer computing power to try different combinations of characters, numbers, and symbols in rapid succession until the correct password is discovered. Brute force attacks are often used when other methods, such as guessing passwords using personal information, option A, or social engineering, option C, are not successful. Unlike social engineering, which relies on manipulating individuals into revealing sensitive information, brute force attacks are automated and focus on trying all possible combinations without human interaction. Hacking into a system using advanced algorithms, option D, is a broad description that may encompass various hacking techniques, including brute force attacks. However, A brute force attack specifically refers to the method of trying all possible password combinations systematically to gain unauthorized access. Question number 9. What is the difference between salting and hashing passwords? A. Salting adds a random value to passwords before hashing for added security. B. Hashing is the same as salting in password encryption. C. Salting involves converting passwords into fixed-length strings. D. Hashing is used to store passwords in plain text format. The correct answer is A. Salting adds a random value to passwords before hashing for added security. Hashing. Hashing is the process of converting a password into a fixed-length string of characters using a cryptographic hash function. This irreversible process generates a unique hash value based on the input data, password. Hashing is commonly used to securely store passwords in a database. Salting. Salting is an additional step in password security that involves adding a random value, known as a salt, to each password before hashing. This random value makes each hashed password unique, even if two users have the same password. Salting helps protect against attacks like rainbow tables, where pre-computed hashes of common passwords are used to quickly crack passwords. Therefore, the main difference between salting and hashing passwords is that salting involves adding a random value to passwords before hashing them, enhancing the security of the hashed passwords. Hashing, on the other hand, is the process of converting passwords into fixed-length strings using a hash function. Salting and hashing are often used together to improve the security of stored passwords. Question number 10. What is the first rule of password security? A. Always use the same password for multiple accounts. B. Never share passwords with anyone. C. Keep passwords in an unsecured document on your computer. D. Use simple and easy-to-guess passwords. The first rule of password security is B. Never share passwords with anyone. Never share passwords with anyone. It is crucial to keep your passwords confidential and not share them with anyone, including friends, family members, or colleagues. Sharing passwords increases the risk of unauthorized access to your accounts and compromises the security of your personal information. Using the same password for multiple accounts, option A, is a risky practice because if one account is compromised, all linked accounts become vulnerable. It is recommended to use unique passwords for each account to enhance security. Keeping passwords in an unsecured document on your computer, option C, exposes your passwords to potential breaches. It is essential to use secure methods like password managers to store and manage passwords safely. Using simple and easy-to-guess passwords, option D, makes it easier for attackers to guess or crack your passwords. Strong and complex passwords are recommended to protect your accounts from unauthorized access. In summary, the first rule of password security is to never share passwords with anyone to maintain the confidentiality and security of your accounts and personal information. Question number 11. Which of the following best describes an AAA server? A. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. B. Advanced administration access. C. Automated application analysis. D. Active Directory authentication. The correct answer is A. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. An AAA server refers to a server that performs three core functions in network security and access control. Authentication, verifying the identity of users or devices attempting to access a network or system. Authorization, determining the level of access or permissions that authenticated users have within the network or system. Accounting, logging and tracking user activities, such as log and logout times, data transfer, and resource usage for auditing and billing purposes. AAA servers are commonly used in network infrastructure to centralize and manage user access control, ensuring secure and controlled access to resources. Examples of AAA servers include Radius, Remote Authentication Dial-In User Service, and TechX Plus, Terminal Access Controller Access Control System Plus. Question number 12. What is the primary purpose of an AAA server in a network? A. To secure the network from cyber attacks. B. To provide centralized user management. C. To increase network bandwidth. D. To facilitate software development. The primary purpose of an AAA server in a network is B. To provide centralized user management. An AAA server, authentication, authorization, and accounting, plays a crucial role in network security and access control by providing centralized user management. The AAA server is responsible for authenticating users, determining their access privileges, authorization, and tracking user activities, accounting, within the network. By centralizing user management functions, an AAA server helps ensure secure and controlled access to network resources. It allows administrators to define and enforce access policies consistently across the network, manage user credentials securely, and track user activities for auditing and billing purposes. While network security is a key aspect of an AAA server's function, option A, the primary focus is on centralized user management. Increasing network bandwidth, option C, and facilitating software development, option D, are not the primary purposes of an AAA server in a network. Question number 13. Which protocol is commonly used by AAA servers for communication with network devices? A. FTP, B. SNMP, C. Radius, D. HTTP. The correct answer is C. Radius. Radius, Remote Authentication Dial-In User Service, is a commonly used protocol by AAA servers for communication with network devices. Radius is a networking protocol that provides centralized authentication, authorization, and accounting management for users who connect and use a network service. It allows network devices, such as routers, switches, and access. Question number 14. What is the role of authentication in the AAA server process? A. Tracking user activities. B. Verifying user identities. C. Assigning access permissions. D. Securing network connections. The role of authentication in the AAA server process is B. Verifying user identities. Authentication is the process of verifying the identity of users or devices attempting to access a network or system. In the AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting server process, authentication is the initial step where the user's identity is confirmed through credentials such as usernames, passwords, security tokens, biometric data, or other authentication factors. By verifying user identities, the AAA server ensures that only authorized users gain access to network resources. Once a user's identity is authenticated successfully, the next steps in the AAA process involve authorization, assigning access permissions, and accounting, tracking user activities. Authentication is fundamental for maintaining the security and integrity of network connections by confirming the legitimacy of users before granting access. Question number 15. How does an AAA server enforce access control in a network? A. By monitoring network traffic. B. By blocking malicious websites. C. By assigning role-based permissions. D. By optimizing network performance. The correct answer is C. By assigning role-based permissions. An AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting server enforces access control in a network by assigning role-based permissions to users. Role-based access control, RBAC, is a method of restricting network access based on the roles and responsibilities of individual users within an organization. Users are assigned specific roles, and access permissions are granted or denied based on those roles. By implementing role-based permissions, the AAA server ensures that users have access only to the resources and data necessary for their specific roles. This helps organizations maintain security, control, and compliance within their networks by limiting unauthorized access to sensitive information. Monitoring network traffic, option A, is related to network security, but is not the primary method used by an AAA server to enforce access control. Blocking malicious websites, option B, is a security measure that may be implemented separately from the AAA server. Optimizing network performance, option D, focuses on improving the efficiency and speed of network operations and is not directly related to access control enforcement by an AAA server. Question number 16. Which of the following is an example of an accounting function performed by an AAA server? A. Tracking login times. B. Assigning IP addresses. C. Blocking malicious traffic. D. Installing software updates. The example of an accounting function performed by an AAA server is A. Tracking login times. In the context of an AAA authentication, authorization, and accounting server, the accounting function involves tracking and logging user activities and network access-related information for auditing, billing, and reporting purposes. Tracking login times, session durations, data transfer volumes, and resource usage are typical examples of accounting functions performed by an AAA server. Assigning IP addresses, option B, is related to network configuration and management, not typically part of the accounting function of an AAA server. Blocking malicious traffic, option C, is a security function aimed at protecting the network from threats and attacks. Installing software updates, option D, is a task related to system maintenance and software management, not specific to the accounting function of an AAA server. Question number 17. What is the benefit of using an AAA server for network security? A. Enhanced data encryption. B. Improved network performance. C. Centralized user management. D. Increased hardware reliability. The benefit of using an AAA server for network security is C. Centralized user management. One of the key benefits of using an AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting server for network security is centralized user management. By centralizing authentication, authorization, and accounting functions, an AAA server provides a single point of control for managing user access to network resources. Centralized user management offers several advantages, including streamlined administration. Administrators can define and enforce access policies consistently across the network. Enhanced security. Centralized control helps ensure that only authorized users have access to specific resources. Simplified auditing and reporting. The AAA server logs user activities, simplifying auditing and compliance efforts. Scalability. Centralized user management can easily scale to accommodate growing numbers of users and devices, while enhanced data encryption, option A, can be a feature of network security solutions. It is not the primary benefit of using an AAA server. Improved network performance, option B, and increased hardware reliability, option D, are important aspects of network operations but are not directly tied to the benefits of using an AAA server for network security. Question number 18. Which AAA component determines what actions a user is allowed to perform on the network? A. Authentication. B. Authorization. C. Accounting. D. Encryption. The AAA component that determines what actions a user is allowed to perform on the network is B. Authorization. Authentication. Authentication verifies the identity of users or devices attempting to access the network. Authorization. Authorization determines what actions or resources authenticated users are allowed to access based on their roles, permissions, and privileges. Accounting. Accounting tracks and logs user activities such as login times and data transfer for auditing and billing purposes. Encryption. Encryption is a method used to secure data by encoding it in a way that only authorized parties can access it. In the context of an AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting server, the authorization component plays a crucial role in controlling and managing user access to network resources by specifying the actions users are permitted to perform based on their assigned roles and permissions.